This is the Mannin Line on location.
Faster Mai, good afternoon. It's the lucky 13th of June and we're live in Castletown with the students of Castle Rushen High School today. It's your opportunity to hear what 16 and 17-year-olds have to say about the Isle of Man, about their world in general, and about what's going to happen in the future. So here we are today with Peter and Zara and Grace and Izzy and Lola and Jasper and Aeden and James. I'm Andy Wint and the Mannin Line is live in Castletown today. Oh, well, first of all, I just want to go to Grace, if I may. Are you learning to drive at the moment?
I've been trying to get lessons, so I've done a bit with my parents, but it's just really, really hard to get lessons at the minute, as well as they're really expensive.
How can it be difficult to get driving lessons?
So the waiting lists are so long, and I've been on a waiting list for over a year now, so I've just been waiting and trying to get in contact, but it's just...
Does anybody know why there aren't driving instructors around at the moment?
A lot of it's due to COVID still, so because of COVID people couldn't drive, which has really backed it up a couple of years, making it a lot harder.
So are you driving at all? Have you got an L plate on?
Yeah, I do, on my little car, but it's just hard because I've not wanted to drive over TT and that sort of thing.
And how much are lessons?
I think it's
if you could get them.
I think it's about £40.
Okay. James, are you driving?
I am driving.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a little Citroen C1.
Okay, when did you pass your test?
Oh, I haven't passed my test. I'm still learning to drive.
Are you taking lessons or just with folks?
I can't get hold of lessons for the life of me. I've been 2-year, 3-year waiting lists for some people. Generally, I don't bother putting myself on the waiting lists because there's just no point. By the time that it comes around to my turn, I'm hopefully going to be gone. So I'm just trying to learn with my parents, really.
Okay, you're not learning any bad habits off parents at all?
Hopefully not, but I wouldn't know whether they're bad habits, unfortunately.
And Peter, you drive, don't you? You passed your test?
Yeah, I passed back in last September.
Okay. Well, everybody else is... How did you get lessons and how did you get on the list?
Well, I got lessons as my 16th birthday present, so I'm guessing my parents were very good and organised and booked them away in advance. And they were also a bit cheaper back then because the fuel price was much lower last June.
Okay. Izzy, are you driving or are you learning?
Yeah, I can drive, so I passed my test about a month ago, yeah. So, yeah, I've got a little Fiesta.
Who organised all that for you?
My mum, she's very organised, so she got me on the list a year before my 16th birthday.
Okay, are you going to university next year?
Hopefully, yeah. I'd like to go to university and study criminology or something.
Criminology? Yeah,
so I'm doing criminology as an A-level and then I'd like to do criminology and sociology at university.
So what does that entail? For the uninitiated, what does criminology mean? What do you learn?
So it's it's a bit about the mind behind why people commit crimes and kind of how society has shaped different people.
Izzy? What conclusions have you come to about people?
A lot of it is to do with how people are brought up as children. So a lot of criminals have had bad childhoods and stuff.
So what do you think we should be doing then for young people?
I'd say different kinds of role models. I'd say children need some good role models to help shape them into good people. Okay.
Jasper, what A-levels are you doing?
I've taken history, global perspectives and research and geography.
And what are you hoping to do at university?
Hopefully a history-based course, such as history and politics, history and law, and then take the conversion course into law.
Okay. And have you cited a university? Have you focused on one?
I'd like to go somewhere nearby, maybe Aberdeen or Liverpool. Somewhere like Aberdeen's not that close.
And do you have any idea about a career?
Maybe law, or maybe just step into teaching as a history teacher or something like that.
Okay. Zara, are you driving?
I'm not. I haven't even got lessons. I'm not really attempting it.
Okay, and in terms of university, what are you doing at A-level at the moment?
Oh, I'm doing history, sociology and business studies, and I'm hopefully going to go on to study history and archaeology at uni.
Okay. And Lola, one thing that's going through Tynwald, or will be going through Tynwald at the moment, is the law on vaping. And you were with us last time. We were here at Castle Rushen. We talked about vaping, and the group of students were quite vocal about vaping.
Yeah, it's one of those really funny things that you couldn't... I find it interesting, especially because I do history. If you watch the history of smoking, it went from so normalised to slowly taxed and slowly very much known what's happening. You can watch what's happening with vaping at a much quicker speed doing that, and it's just... what took like 50 years for us to realise what needed to be taxed and needed to be controlled is happening now because it's just so easy. Like, if you can get them in a store, you can get them online, you can do all these things. It's just, there's no warnings either on the packages.
Why are so many young people vaping, Lola?
I think there's it's obviously grown a lot after COVID, which is understandable. There's so much stress that I think we don't see because all of us are kind of just outside of the COVID generation, and you're watching all these kids get really stressed out all the time, and then nicotine's a really easy way to get past that, but at the same time, it's cool. It's like, it's smoking in the 70s, you know? It was cool, it was edgy, it was all of this, and it's just happening again.
James, how does vaping strike you at the moment? What do you think of it?
Well, I think a lot of the reason that people vote, if you look at the actual vapes that people can get, they're very colourful. They come in pretty boxes. They look a lot like sweets, and they smell a lot like sweets. They're so sweet that you know when somebody's been vaping in the toilets or wherever. So I think one of the main draws to them is they look so much like sweets and sweet things that people just instinctually go to them. The sort of nice things that they used to like, so now they like them as well.
Lola's saying it's cool to vape. Is that true?
Well, I wouldn't say so, but
do you think people perceive vaping as cool if they see? Is it subject to peer pressure?
I think there's definitely an aspect of peer pressure to it, but I think it's just sort of the done thing for quite a few people. Their friends are all doing it, so why not?
Aeden, is it getting more common, vaping?
Well, it definitely does seem to have gotten more common over the past couple of years, and especially it seems to be a lot more popular among people in year 7 and year 8. So
year 7, that's how old?
Yeah, oh god, definitely.
How old is that?
That's about 11, 12, yeah.
11-year-olds are vaping?
Definitely, yeah. Probably. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people in primary schools doing it as well.
So where does that come from? What sort of example are they taking?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. It's just this probably because of online social media and stuff like that. It has become a bit of a culture for a lot of young people, and especially with peer pressure and stuff like that. They just feel like they have to do it to kind of fit in.
Years ago, with smoking, film stars used to smoke, pop stars used to smoke. Madonna, there's a famous shot of Madonna smoking, and it became very cool for young women to smoke. But you don't see people on. Do you see people on television vaping?
Definitely not to the same extent that people used to smoke.
So you think it's driven by social media?
I mean, I can't really see any other reason why. That's definitely a big factor for it, yeah.
James?
I think, like Izzy was saying earlier, it's a lot about role models. If say, an 11-year-old sees their older sibling vaping, then they'll think, oh, that's what big people do, that's what cool people do. And I think the main problem is that people see that and think that's what you do. So I think that's where you kind of have to stop it, because if they'll grow up eventually and younger people to them will think, oh, that's cool.
Zara?
I think also a big issue is the fact that they're so easy to get a hold of. They're so cheap, and it's...
How cheap? How much is a vape?
Oh, I would think they range from £5-10, maybe a bit more if you're getting I think there are some illegal ones that you can get that are well over the nicotine threshold.
Right. And what is the nicotine threshold?
I think Lola said before it was about 40, 60%. I'm pretty sure it's like 2 mil, of nicotine. So, yeah,
but nicotine's addictive.
It's very addictive. I think because, obviously, like James was saying, they're so sweet and they're so easy to get a hold of, you don't even really notice how much you are vaping or smoking in that sense.
Do you think that vaping is a way into smoking? Because vapes were created for adults to stop smoking. It was a way out of smoking. But do you think children who are vaping, and I say children, 11, 12-year-olds, do you think that's going to lead them into smoking?
I don't really think so. I think if they start vaping, unless they stop vaping, they're not going to get into smoking, because vaping is so much easier than smoking. It's so much easier to get a hold of. It's cheaper. And obviously with smoking, you have warnings on the packets. They don't taste good. They don't smell good. And it's the exact opposite with vaping. And I think once you start it, you're not exactly going to, go onto smoking cigarettes.
Okay. Jasper, do you think young children smoke vape because it's cool?
I'd imagine so, yes. Obviously, with, as Aeden was saying, things like TikTok and Instagram, there's always a lot of content creators, I suppose, who show themselves vaping in their videos while doing something else. And it's just kind of been normalised in the way that smoking was in the 70s. As Lola was saying, history does repeat itself in this manner. And it's just becoming normal and cool, I suppose.
Are you on social media?
No, I have very little social media impact myself.
So no Facebook, no Twitter?
The closest I have is an Instagram account that I use to message my friends.
Right.
That's it.
And did you take a conscious step away from social media, or did you never bother with it anyway?
Never really got into it. I wasn't really allowed social medias to begin with, and when my parents stopping me, I just never bothered. I didn't see the need.
Aeden, are you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on basically TikTok, Instagram,
Facebook.
Facebook. I mean, I have a Facebook account, but I don't use it. I don't necessarily use my social medias that much. I mean, I have them, but I don't use them a lot. It's mostly just messaging friends and stuff.
Okay, Izzy, are you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on basically all of the social medias.
How much time a day do you spend on social media?
Probably way too much. I'd say most of my time is spent on TikTok. I'm quite bad with my screen time on TikTok.
Apparently TikTok's very bad. Apparently the rumour is the Chinese government are hoovering up all your data because you're on TikTok.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, no, I spend a lot of time on TikTok.
Do you watch television at all?
I do watch some TV shows, but I definitely think that short form kind of content creation has ruined my attention span a bit. So I don't watch.
Yeah, TikTok's how short is TikTok?
I think between 15 seconds to a minute max usually, so not very long at all.
But I mean, you're an intelligent young woman who's going to study criminology at university. You must have a bigger attention span than 20 seconds.
I definitely...
Or is it just fun?
I definitely do, but I think it's quite fun just to constantly have something fresh and something new, and not to have to focus on something for a while. Do
you follow any celebrities, famous people on...
I have a couple. I have the Kardashians, but they don't do loads. But I don't follow any main TikTok stars or anything.
Lola, are you on social media?
I am a bit. I'm a lot better than I used to be, definitely, about the time I spend on it. It's just, as someone who's struggled a lot with my mental health, it's not a good place to be. And yeah, everyone was saying, it's promoting stuff like smoking, it's promoting stuff like vaping. And once you even if you get into it and it's not people being this is the perfect body type, you still look at people and you're it's so fake. You don't know what you're looking at. When you look at your friends, you're that's my friend, but you don't know what these people actually look like, and you start to compare. It's such a dangerous thing to get into.
When did you come to the conclusion that social media could be bad for you?
I think I always knew. It was just more of I don't know if it was more of me being oh no, I'm better than that, I'm better than this, I know the danger, so I'll be fine. It's just oh no, you need to step away from it always. But I think definitely a lot of maturing for our generation is realising that social media is not a great thing.
Grace, are you on social media?
Yeah. I've got all the platforms and everything like that. And yeah, I just use TikTok a lot.
Do you, how many hours a day would you say you're on social media? Grace?
Well, this was a very hard day, but last week I was on TikTok for 8 hours
When you
in a day.
When you get your screen time that comes through, I mean,
Sometimes it's quite appalling, to be fair, but my subjects that I do kind of give me like the chance to like use social media a lot for like influence.
what subjects?
So I'm like art, textiles and business, so a lot of mine is finding inspiration for what I'm actually going to do.
Well, let's be straight. Social media can be immense fun. It can be a big giggle, but do you think you've about hit your limit?
Probably. I would say that like compared to like when we were on lockdown a couple of years ago, like it definitely has like dropped a lot, like social media as a whole.
You think you can handle social media? You never get put off by it? You never see stuff you don't like?
I'd say that there is always stuff that you're a bit iffy about in a way, because there's always people who are going to do something that you think is like morally wrong or something like that. But personally, like I don't find any like troubles with it at all.
What about younger children, if you like, younger kids? I mean, do you think some social media can be dangerous, can be damaging to younger kids?
Yeah, I would say that in quite a lot of younger kids, especially like when they're like 5 or 6, they're using social media and they're exposed to a lot at a really young age, which is really affecting their growth as like and what they're actually thinking in the future, because they could be exposed to anything on social media and the parents don't have a clue about it.
So how do we police that? How do we do something about that?
Well, I know that like such as TikTok and that, they've started to like put guidelines out for like younger age limits, and also if it's a bad video then they'll censor the video.
Did you watch the European Champions League final?
No, I didn't.
Are you a fan of football at all?
No, not really. I watch a bit with my dad from time to time, but that's about it.
Who does he support?
Brighton.
Brighton and Hove Albion?
Yeah.
Zara, did you watch the European Champions League final?
I did not. I am not a big fan of football.
Okay. Peter, are you a fan of football at all?
No, I'm not really a massive fan of football, to be honest. More rugby.
We're not doing well at the moment. So, James, are you a fan of football?
No, I think you've got the least footballing group of people.
Well, that's very interesting, because the world seems to be obsessed with football at the moment. Aiden, are you a football fan?
I am definitely not a football fan. I don't think anyone here is necessarily a football fan.
Jasper, are you a football fan?
I can't say I am, I'm afraid.
Are you a sporty fan at all? Do you follow any sorts of sport?
No kind of sports, no.
Do you play sport at all?
No. I stopped playing hockey like 2 years ago and that was it.
Well, that's amazing. So does anybody? Izzy, are you a football fan?
No, I'm not a big football fan.
And Lola, are you a football fan?
I can't say I am, I'm sorry.
That's absolutely, this is an amazing set that we've got here. Absolutely no football fan. Anybody following the cricket at all here? Nobody following... Oh, and rugby.
I followed a little bit of cricket, but not too much.
And did you say rugby?
Yeah, I like my rugby.
You play rugby, do you?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Who do you play for?
Play for Nomads in school.
Southern Nomads?
Yeah.
What team are you in? You're in the first?
No, I'm not in the first yet, because I'm not quite old enough to play for the first yet, because you have to be 17 to play full senior rugby. But I'm only 17 next week, so I've missed this season, unfortunately.
Okay, what do you think of the TT?
It was very, very good this year. The new format was much better, especially with senior on a Saturday. Meant a lot more people could get out, and just not having rest days, but just having a race each day meant that you weren't like stuck up there all day, and it was a bit fresh every time each race.
Do you think we were blessed with the weather, but do you think the weather made it work?
Oh yeah, well, the weather made it work, but it still would have ran if we had a day missed weather here or there. Like, I think, was it Tuesday in race week we had delays and stuff, but also went well. But the weather also helped make it such an exciting week with the track being in such good condition.
Okay. Anybody else got anything to say about the TT? Any TT fans here? Nothing in particular. Anybody go to the TT Fun Fair at all? Lola, was it £5 a ride?
It depended on the ride that you went on. It was ticket-based this year, so no straight cash, but it was very expensive considering.
So how much did you spend on the day?
I didn't spend. My poor father, unfortunately, funded my sister and I's
Did you
trips.
go on the big ones that flung you around the sky?
I didn't. My sister did. I can't really. I have anemia, so I'm not very good on the rides, and I'm also a massive scaredy cat. So, but my sister
So you're a
absolutely
scaredy
adores
cat.
it.
You have anemia, and you went to the fun fair.
I went on the fun houses. It was. I was the bag mum. I had my partner and my sister went on all the massive rides, having the time of their life, and I just sat there with the bag.
Anybody else go on the fun fair at all here? What did you go on, Peter?
I went on, I don't know what it's called, but it like spins you around and it like fires you across and back towards the walls. It was quite fun. And I went up there with my little brother, and I also went on, it used to be called Miami Trip, I don't know what it's called now, but it was pretty expensive. Me and my brother went and we spent 20 quid on 2 rides in total.
Do you think the fun fair adds to the TT?
I didn't think it was that good this year, to be honest. In past years, I thought it's been quite great fun.
It was smaller than it has.
It was definitely smaller, and the rides weren't as good, and it was a bit too expensive, in my opinion.
And yet, still, you went.
Well, we went for 2 rides and then decided to call it a day.
James, did you go on the fun fair?
I didn't know. I did glance at it. It did look like really expensive. I think it looked better in previous years before COVID. When there was a lot more stuff that you could do there. It just looked a bit smaller this year with only a little bit of the prom.
What was your overall impression of TT this year?
I wasn't actually here for TT. I went over to Spain last week. It was quite nice.
Anywhere nice in Spain?
I went to the southeast, I think it was, to a place called Fuengirola. I can't pronounce that. But yeah, it was quite nice there. Lots of time on the beach.
We're live today at Castle Rushen High School with the students here, and lots more to talk about. It's 27 minutes past midday. Going to be back in just a moment.
Saturday, 17th of June is Armed Forces Day.
Join us at the Villa Marina from 1 p.m. to show your support for all our military personnel, past and present.
With stalls, music, children's entertainment and more in the Villa Gardens. And a parade of serving troops, veterans, cadet organisations and other uniformed services in front of the Mayor of Douglas from 2. Followed by a free buffet for all from 5 p.m. inside the Villa.
Armed Forces Day, June 17th.
Want to make a real difference to your home or workplace energy bills? The team at EMS Home Green have 30 years experience supplying and installing solar power and thermal systems, air and ground source heat pumps and battery storage. A complete one-stop eco-shop finding practical solutions to help you save money from day one. Call 613-210 or visit ems.co.im to arrange your no-obligation survey. EMS Home Green, for your greener home.
The Isle of Man Electoral Commission would like to hear from you. Share your experience of being a voter in the Isle of Man, any barriers you have discovered, or any concerns you have about elections or constituency boundaries will help inform the Commission's work. A public meeting will be held on Thursday the 15th of June at St Andrew's Church, Douglas from 6:30 to 8 p.m. You can also complete an online public consultation by visiting consult.gov.im. Don't miss out on this opportunity to get your voice heard.
This is the Mannin Line on location.
Back with the students of Castle Rushen High School. I got a note in from Richie who texted on 776 who said, I was in my first year at Castle Rushen High School at the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis. For your information, that was 61 years ago. It was October the 16th to the 29th, 1962. And that was when the Soviet Union put missiles on Cuba and was ostensibly threatening to fire them to Miami. It was when President Kennedy was there. And he said, because we were talking about youth today having a sense of impending doom and being worried about everything. And he said, I remember in assembly that morning, we were told by the headmaster, J.R. Smith in 1962, was an ex-army officer and a strict disciplinarian, that none of us would know what the day would bring, because they were talking about the fact there may be a nuclear war then. But there was nothing we could do about it, so we should all get on diligently with our lessons. So we all did. No panic, no distress at all. I just want to know whether anybody's bothered about the situation in Ukraine and what may happen in the future. James?
I think we hear so much. I know it's a horrible war, but I think we hear so much of the bad stuff from news. We never hear any positive, or we rarely hear positive stories from anywhere in the world. And we hear so much about wars and deaths and famines that a lot of the time it gets taken out of proportion that things do happen, but you've also got to think about the good things that happen. So I think it definitely affects people mentally. That's why there's such a big problem, I think, with mental health in the younger generations. The fact that they listen to news and social media, that people only ever talk about the bad bits, but they never go on to talk about any of the positive things that are happening.
Aeden?
Well, yeah, I'd say that the news, like James said, does sort of blow out proportions, some things. But of course, it's kind of hard not to sort of feel like the impending doom of the future with stuff like climate change.
Are you worried about what may happen in the future?
Oh, definitely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, seeing the way the world's going at the moment, we're not sorting out climate change, which is an existential threat, which a lot of people seem to just like to forget about it and play it down. But it is very dangerous for the world, and we're not doing what we could be doing to stop it.
When you say we, who's we?
Well, we as a planet,
right,
as a species. Of course,
so
there are
internationally, United Nations, the big rich countries.
Oh, definitely. Of course. I mean, the United Nations has tried, but of course, it doesn't actually have any real power, and most countries just ignore it. But when you've got countries like China and the US just going full steam ahead with oil and gas,
and coal in China,
and the coal in China as well. Yeah, although I think they are just phasing that out, but still with oil and gas especially.
Peter.
Well, it's not fair just to blame it all on the US and China as well, because it's everywhere. Every country is producing carbon dioxide, polluting the atmosphere with industry like the UK gas. Well, we're digging up gas fields potentially.
Yeah, what do you think about that? The possibility of...
I think it would be very beneficial economically, but then also with climate change and everything, all these renewable energy sources, for such as the wind farms, like one of these wind farms, massive amounts of fiberglass, loads of fiberglass, and they last 20 years, then they're chucked in the landfill.
And a big lump of concrete in the floor.
Go and pollute the environment, and actually they're not helping the environment as much as they look.
Aeden?
Well, you say that, but I think gas is doing far more to harm the environment than wind turbines.
Okay. Jasper, do you live life with a sense of impending doom?
Almost certainly, especially looking at places such as the United States. On a less global threatening scale, just human rights over there. Obviously, with the Roe v. Wade decision being overturned, women having a hard time getting abortions, and possibly very soon people like me in the LGBT community might have their human rights removed as well. And if that makes its way over the pond, then it's doom and gloom. Really.
I mean, you think that LGBTQ plus rights at the moment are going in the right direction?
For a time they were, but I feel like it's slowing down. Obviously, the English government, Theresa May, was promising to get rid of conversion therapy camps, and yet they're still here with us, which are obviously unpleasant places, disgusting really, trying to use religion to change how someone is, what they were born as.
Okay, and it's Pride Month as well, so anything special happening for you in Pride Month?
Not really, no. Sadly not, especially with the Isle of Man Pride event being...
Yes, it was.
Cancelled.
I mean, they are cancelled. It seemed to be going so well.
Yeah, they think they've completed their mission, which I'm not entirely sure about, but, if that's what they believe.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what I can say, big plug tonight, 6 o'clock. Siobhan Fletcher's going to be got a part 2 of a Pride series on Manx Radio. Lola, going back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we were talking about mental health among young people as well. You mentioned that you've had struggles yourself. Have you solved those?
Definitely not. I struggle with Tourette's syndrome, which it's not as noticeable recently because an unknown thing about it's like the moon, it waxes and wanes. I have bad times, I have good times, but I don't think I'll ever be free from my mental health struggles, but I'm definitely improving. I'm in CAMS, which it's a difficult thing to get into, and I mean, I don't think I'll ever be able to thank my mum and my dad enough for how much they fought to get me that help. And it's one of those things where obviously things like COVID didn't help, things like being in a stressful environment like exams don't help, but finding those structures that work, I think there's always this everyone thinks there needs to be a cure for stuff like this. There needs to be a cure for autism. There needs to be a cure for this. But what if we just find the things that help us? Like, there's not cures for certain things like cancer, but we have things like structures to help people when they're in that situation. We have structures to help people, and it's finding those structures for yourself.
Of things that mitigate the condition. Can you tell us how much was that you, or how much was it the help that you got?
Well, the help that I received was, again, my parents. They fought for me to get that, and it's just a lot. Parts of it was school, having certain things in exams. I have a separate room because I get stressed out and I start to tick and things, and I think there's so much more. There's goods and bads to mental health being so much more in the media and so much more present. There's such goods because people don't feel alone, but at the same time there's people being like, oh, this is my problem, and you keep getting pushed in your face again and again. Sometimes people turn to those problems, but it is awful to watch. Like, I do work experience at the local Vic Road. I do work experience there, and you see these kids struggling so much younger these days, and it's just, that has to be part of social media. There's no way in hell that it's anything but social media that's really starting that, but there is just, it's so sad to watch, but at the same time, we're so much more aware of it, and we're in a time where we're not sending people to mental hospitals to get lobotomies. We're in a time where we can help people properly, and it's so nice to be able to do that, but at the same time, it doesn't make people's struggles any less relevant and any less hard for them. Okay,
Izzy, how do you view the world at the moment? Is it something that you think about the situations around the world, conflict and what have you?
Yeah, I think, like Jasper said, I mainly think about how, like, the USA has handled different situations, like Roe v. Wade, and, like, just basic human rights kind of thing, and how everything's constantly changing.
Where do you get your news from?
I'd say mostly social media, TikTok, Instagram, those kind of places.
Are these personal sites you go to, or news sites, or?
Not. I probably should, but not really. So not all information. Everywhere's different, so there's no real clear information from anywhere really.
Okay. It may be unfair, but you're going to be the first one. When's the last time you read a newspaper?
I used to do a newspaper round, so probably about 2 or 3 years ago.
But which newspaper did you ever used to read?
The Courier.
Just the local newspaper. Any UK papers? Any papers?
No, never.
Okay. Do you watch television news at all?
No.
Okay. So I'm just interested to see where you get your view of the world from. It is mainly social media, yeah?
Yeah, it's mainly social media and, like, where different people around the world.
Okay. Grace, where do you work?
I work at Southern Swimming Pool, the NSC and Peel Swimming Pool.
As a lifeguard?
Yeah.
Tell us, why was the Southern Pool closed in TT?
So, from what I know, it's due to refurbs. So, constantly there's having to be new equipment put in, and every 6 months, so for Christmas and for TT, they get it as a set holiday, so that paint jobs can be done, little jobs that you don't want customers to be in there for can be done, as it's a quiet time of year.
Do you enjoy being a lifeguard?
Yeah, I do. It's a really fun job.
When did you decide to be a lifeguard?
So I've been swimming ever since I was little, and like I've swam for like the island.
When you say little, how young?
Oh, probably like toddler. Like ever since I was a toddler, I've always been at like all the pools. But when I was like probably like 5 or 6, one of the old bosses at Peel was like, "You're going to become a lifeguard here. You're going to become a lifeguard when you turn 16." And I think that's like always stuck with me, that I want to like try it out, sort of thing.
And you swam for the island?
Yeah, I did for quite a while.
What did you swim? What distance?
I just swam kind of everything. One of my favourites was definitely the 100 fly. But
best time?
I don't have a clue. I stopped like doing galas at the start of this year, so I'm like, I think like one of my best times was like 30 for like 53 or something.
You're not one of the people who swims in the sea, are you?
No.
Do you sea swim at all?
I do it in summer with my friends and that, but that's about it.
What do you think about this trend for middle-aged people diving into the sea at dawn?
I think it's pretty good because I know some people who do it, and there's quite a lot of health benefits to it, going into the cold water, and it does help a lot of people, especially if you feel conscious about your body and that sort of thing. It's just easier to just go for a swim in the sea. And one of the grands at swimming, who's lovely, she goes every day and has been for like months now, and she says that it's had major health benefits on her.
Okay, Zara, have you got a job at weekends?
I do, yeah, I'm a waitress.
Whereabouts?
At Tower House up on Douglas.
Do you enjoy being a waitress?
I do. I love all of our regulars and customers. I think it's a very nice job. It does get a bit stressful sometimes when it gets really busy, but overall I really enjoy it.
What are the tips like?
Oh, well, we don't really get tips. Obviously, it's a cafe.
You don't get tips?
No, but I don't really expect tips. Like, you pay for the food that you get. It's my job to, help out. Like, yeah.
That's a very British way of thinking, because everywhere else, everybody expects tips.
Yeah, especially in America, I think tipping culture is quite a lot, because in America, I think they expect the tips to help them push over their wages, and they get paid a lot less.
Are you saving your money, or are you spending it?
I'm saving, definitely. I'm putting it all into a little savings for uni when I go.
Are you on Twitter?
I am on Twitter. It's a little embarrassing.
Do you post on Twitter?
Not much. I just kind of scroll.
Who's the most famous person you follow?
I don't really follow anyone famous. It's more just like friends. But I don't really agree with Twitter now, like with the whole Elon Musk thing happening.
Why?
He's just not a very good person overall.
He makes electric cars. He must be.
He does make electric cars, but I think there's a lot of repercussions. Obviously, the batteries that, obviously, when you make them, it takes up a lot more energy. And although I do agree with electric cars, I'm not quite sure. It's just Elon Musk himself is not a very good person. He's very transphobic, homophobic, and a lot of other things.
Peter, do you see the future for electric vehicles?
Not really, to be honest.
What do you drive at the moment?
I just borrow my mum's car every now and then.
Which is a?
It's just a diesel Mercedes.
Okay, so where do you stand on electric vehicles?
Well, I think that they're obviously not as green as they're made to sound. Although there's not fumes coming out of the back of them, they're getting shipped all around the world, mining for the batteries, which isn't very eco-friendly. And so actually, to buy one, if you're going to try to save the environment, isn't good. But actually, I quite like them. They're quite cool. So I'd buy one just to drive it. But
James?
I think the idea of electric cars is a good idea, but I think it's very almost hypocritical, because people will say it's so green, but they're just moving the emissions from their car to the power station. Because let's be honest, the majority of the power on the Isle of Man that people use to charge their cars is from a power station that burns gas, and that's going through wires which are inefficient. So essentially you're burning the fuel in a different place, putting it through something inefficient to your car, or you could just put it in your car and then you'd have a much more efficient platform to just be able to do it, and you don't have to worry about charging. Not to mention like Peter was saying, the horrible things that have to happen to get the batteries, like the cobalt from the Dominican Republic of Congo, like children mining. That's not a good thing, and I would not buy an electric car that endorses that sort of thing.
Okay, we're back with the students of Castle Rushen High School in a moment.
Cancer Research UK's Relay for Life is back. Don't miss your chance to honour everyone who's been affected by cancer and the progress made in research. Unite with family and friends, set your team fundraising goal and join a celebration of community fundraising. Search Relay for Life Isle of Man and enter for free today. The Relay for Life, 26th August at the National Sports Centre. Your chance to help beat cancer.
There's more than you think at Manx Glass and Glazing. Along with the supply and installation of quality windows, doors and conservatories, Manx Glass and Glazing also have more for inside your home, including made-to-measure mirrors and glass splashbacks in a wide range of colours to give a contemporary look to any kitchen. Give your home a makeover. Visit the showroom on Snugborough Trading Estate or find out more at manxglass.com. Manx Glass and Glazing. Quality and style since 1986.
Heating oil for homes, powering farms and businesses, keeping you moving with petrol stations across the island. Ellen Vannin Fuels. Call us on 844000.
Excited about starting your new business but feel daunted by accounts, tax and VAT? Then talk to Nicola Bowker & Co before you do anything else. From expert advice to getting a helping hand, Nicola Bowker & Co can help and guide you. Call 861 271.
It's time to find out who's the daddy with Tel Skips and your nation station Manx Radio.
Daddy cool, daddy cool, daddy.
Sunday is Father's Day, and to celebrate you could win your dad a £200 voucher to spend at 1886. Check out the 2 photos on our Facebook page this weekend. If you can guess who the famous fathers are, send your name and the dad's name to 166 177, starting with the word dad. Then on Monday in Manx Radio Breakfast, we'll pick a winner.
Daddy cool, daddy cool.
And if you need a skip for home or garden, remember, Tells are the daddy. Call 677 137 or search him online.
This is the Mannin Line on location.
It's 14 minutes before 1. We're live at Castle Rushen High School today with Aeden and James and Peter and Zara and Grace and Izzy and Jasper and Lola. James, do you think, there's been a talk about this, do you think boys, young men at school should be able to wear shorts in this weather?
Yes. I don't see, what's the problem with shorts? I mean, I don't like shorts. I hate them. I hate wearing them.
Would you wear shorts?
No, I hate them. But I think there's no reason why we shouldn't be allowed to wear them. I
Peter?
just think they look awful.
Peter?
Up in sixth form here, because our sixth form gets really hot. In the summer, we have a summer dress code policy, which allows lighter gear. You don't have to wear suits in the summer.
So what's the normal sixth form uniform?
So
Suits?
normal sixth form for the boys is suits, ties, and for the girls it's smart dresses and workwear basically. But in the summer you can get away girls like lighter dresses.
If you could wear shorts, would you?
Well, I do normally. It's just because we got the radio in that we got to dress up smart.
Oh, that's lovely. Aiden, would you wear shorts?
Personally, not to school. No, I wouldn't. I don't mind wearing this. I do. It does get a little hot sometimes, but I'm happy to wear this.
Jasper?
Same with Aiden, really. I think that people should be allowed to wear them if they want to, but I wouldn't.
Okay, sexist comment then. Grace, would you like to see the boys in shorts?
Of course I would. Obviously.
Izzy, behave yourself.
It's all just up to what they feel comfortable in, sort of thing. I definitely do think, as we're allowed to wear skirts, they should be allowed to wear shorts.
Okay. Peter, you got some thoughts on the teachers' strike?
Oh, yeah. It's been really frustrating over the years now, a couple of years. We've lost out on a lot of opportunities with it, and just hope it gets sorted out soon.
How much teaching time do you think you've lost?
Well, we must have lost about, 4 or 5 days this year, along with everything else that's been happening and COVID in the past. But it's mainly affecting the extracurricular activities.
Such as
your sports. Like the sports here we haven't had any really this year, and it's just been very hard for everyone.
Who's got to sort it out then, James, do you think?
Well, I think it's definitely a problem with the department. My mum's a teacher. She teaches, I think it's year 1 at Ashley Hill. And the amount of extra work that she does outside of lessons, outside of being at school, for a year 1 class that are drawing pictures of their parents that do not look very good. They look slightly awful. But the amount of extra work that she does outside of lessons that the department they just expect her to do, but they only pay her for the stuff that she does in lessons. So I don't think that's fair. If you asked any other profession, do an extra 3 hours of work every evening after you've done your regular work, I think there would be massive complaints. But because teachers are generally nice people, they put up with it and they'll be fine. They're fine with it. But I think it's gone on too long that they've just been sort of taken advantage of, that they actually need to be paid more. They need to get what they deserve rather than what they're being paid at the moment.
Okay, Lola?
Yeah, I mean, I law was, I think last time I was here, I discussed wanting to go on to law, but my passions have really changed into teaching. And it's just constantly seeing these people being like, I love teaching, but I had to go away from it because of the pay, because of everything that was happening, because of obviously more stress with generations coming up. And it's like, it's awful to see that this is kind of what you're going into when it's something of passion. So many people go into it for passion, but they're forced out of it because of the pay. Like, the fact that you're starting on like 14 grand a year, that's not a great place to start.
Tell me, how good are your teachers at Castle Rushen?
Very good. I think I've been very lucky with the teachers I've got. There's so many good teachers leaving now, and you can see a lot of them are leaving for that reason, that they're not being paid well enough. They're struggling with the generations coming up, like COVID generation. There's definitely, obviously, behaviour problems that are happening as a result, and just a lot of it, like, I didn't want to do English literature as an A-level, but I think without, like, my teacher, Mrs. Kennedy, honestly, the way that she taught us English, I'm so happy that she brought that passion back. I'm so happy that those teachers, that at least I have the passion in their subjects, and you need that passion.
Izzy, what's your view on this?
I definitely agree that, like with Peter, that it's affected our education. I know for me, I've had some business exams and my business teachers haven't been available to teach us some of our lessons. But then I also do agree that the amount of extra work, marking any past papers I do, I definitely think that that there is a good reason as to why they're striking and that they deserve to be paid more.
Okay. And Grace?
Yeah, I have a very similar belief. For my subjects, my teachers have to mark a lot of my work, and it takes a really long time to do. So I feel like some of my teachers just have so much passion behind what they're actually doing, and it's just like they're not getting enough for what they're actually providing. You're
doing something that requires inspiration. It's got to come from within you. So do teachers provide that? Do they guide that out of you?
Yeah, they definitely do. Like, I have this textiles teacher, Miss Allman, and she definitely fully cares so much and is totally into what I'm doing, and loves to make me feel even more inspired, and really does influence the work that I do.
Who's your favourite designer?
Vivienne Westwood, who's unfortunately died recently, but she was definitely one of my favourites because she was so controversial.
In particular, why?
I loved how she kind of was an activist for a lot of different forms, and how she was able to spread her voice within her work. That was definitely one of my big inspirations for artists.
In terms of fashion, though, the fashion industry comes in for some bad press regarding environmental issues, fast fashion and stuff like that, sweatshops and what have you.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that the idea of fast fashion, I'm not a massive fan of, but quite a lot of people are a victim to it due to the fact that it's just a lot cheaper. For example, Shein, and there's many other, but Shein's a big one to this, as it produces so much waste into the environment, and the sweatshops that they're making people work in is absolutely ridiculous.
And yet anybody, let me make a sweeping generalisation, who goes to Liverpool shopping heads straight for Primark.
Yeah, I think it's due to the price, to be fair, because they know their target market. They go around, they look at trends, they're able to identify what's actually a want, and due to the price, it just makes it so much more accessible, definitely for younger people as well.
Okay, James, you wanted to say something?
I was just saying to people next to me, I can confirm that I don't go to Primark when I go to Liverpool. That's not the first place I go.
And who's your favourite fashion designer?
Well, I know so many of them. Yeah. It's just...
Aeden, who's your favourite fashion designer?
I can't say I know enough.
Jasper, any favourite fashion designer?
Not really familiar with the field.
In that case, it's down to Peter. Who's your favourite fashion designer?
I don't know. I can only think of one, so it'd be Coco Chanel then.
Very good. Oh, wow. Well, next year, of course, it's university, and I just want to hear from you, Zara. When you go to... You are going to university, are you?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
And where are you going?
I'm looking more towards unis in Scotland, Edinburgh is my aspiration. It is my top uni to go to, but I'm also thinking of applying to places like Aberdeen and Strathclyde.
Okay, and what will you be reading? Again? What will you be reading? What's your subject?
History. I really want to do a joint subject, like either just history or history and archaeology, because like the field work is something that really interests me.
You haven't done any of the digs on the Isle of Man at all?
No, but I do enjoy going to some of the cultural like things that they have. The museum is quite fun, I think.
Okay. Who? Everybody here's above 16, aren't everyone's 16? Yeah. So everybody, in terms of voting, you'll be able to vote. Could you tell me, Zara, who's the education minister on the Isle of Man?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Who's the education minister on the Isle of Man? Who's the home affairs minister on the Isle of Man? Who's the chief minister on the Isle of Man? Anybody know?
Alf Cannon.
Alf Cannon, it is. Who's the treasury minister? Anybody know who the treasury minister is?
Unfortunately, no.
Aeden, any idea? The treasury minister?
Is it Allison?
It is Dr. Alex Allenton.
Yeah.
It is as well. So, there'll be a general election in a couple of years' time on the Isle of Man. So we'll come back and ask more then. In the meantime, thanks to Jasper and Aeden and James and Peter and Zara. Thanks to Lola and Izzy and Grace. Today we've been live in Castletown with the students of Castle Rushen High School. Yay!